Yeah, that's fine. What was the last one though? Oh, Doctor Strange.
He's strange. Strange it.
Taylor, you want to get up and see how I look? Get your Vader over. Don't bump anything now.
This guy's an assassin, okay?
Looks perfect.
Never bumped anything in his life.
Is it recording? Just double check that it's...
Hey!
Is it recording?
Yeah.
Who are any of those characters? That was a stormtrooper.
What do you mean? Who
These are all the ones that died in the movie.
I don't know the top
Sit
two.
down.
That looks like the Zarya skin.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, but
Alright,
What do
we
you have?
ready to go, folks?
Yeah.
I've been ready since the day I was born.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 91st episode. Yeah, it is. I am...
That's not a question.
Yeah, it is.
If not, I'll let you know next week. I am the Rebel Slicin' Trash Snail.
Rebel Slicer.
Oh, I am.
Be careful, because we haven't... Okay, spoilers. If you haven't seen Rogue One, just in case your nicknames had any spoilerish territory.
The whole movie's a spoiler.
Fair enough.
It's true.
Everyone already knows exactly what happened.
They don't know specific scenes?
Yes,
though?
they do.
What?
I am
Again,
getting the plans, Kyle Smith.
I am the Star Destroying villain. Yes.
I'm the Rebel Sinjin, Tyler Briggs.
Fair enough.
Wow.
I'm the I love it Taylor Field.
Sir, one more time.
I'm the I love it Taylor Field.
I love it,
I
Taylor.
love it.
Wow.
Save Hannibal.
That's the one I could have
Hashtag
never
save animal.
predicted.
As you've seen by the title, we've been talking about it for weeks, maybe even years.
Months, decades.
Months.
Centuries.
Hours.
This is the Rogue One, our Rogue One spoiler review / discussion. We're going to do some overalls. We're going to talk about quickly the cast. We're going to change that a bit differently. We're going to talk about the plot, story, score, everything like that. Let's start with Taylor. Just a quick synopsis of what did you think overall. Don't give too many specifics and then go on that. And then, yeah, spoilers, like Dylan said, it is. But there are specific scenes that we don't want to spoil. They're surprises. So if you haven't seen it, come back and check it out later. If not, then enjoy. This should be an interesting one, I
So our
think.
spoilers starting right now.
Spoilers starting right now, yeah.
Okay.
They got the plants.
Hands up, guys.
Yeah.
Oh. Yikes.
It's a trap.
Oh, they said that. They yeah.
Okay, go Taylor.
Go.
You know, like this movie, I wasn't sure really where it could go. I was excited for it and everything, but finally when I sat there and I was watching it, I just started to get pulled in, and just I am so happy and content with this film. I think it's a great addition to the saga, the series, everything. I'm very happy that they did this spin-off film. I run out of words that thinking I could use to express my excitement for this film. The whole drive home after the film, I was just talking nonstop how excited I was seeing this film.
You should have saved it for the cast.
I did. I didn't say everything, but I was saying how excited I was. But
See, his own girlfriend has to tune in for a real review of the movie.
Yeah.
That's how it works on a podcast. Tyler Briggs, what do you think?
I thought it was good. I mean, I'm always happy that there's more Star Wars movies, and I enjoyed that it was Star Wars and like the novelty of that. I think there was a lot that they could have done better though. I think like it was a good movie, but it wasn't what the hype kind of made it to be. So I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but just expectations weren't fully met, I'd say.
Okay. A well rested Mr. Mess?
Well rested?
Yeah.
What is that supposed to mean? Well, yeah, okay. I was like, what are you talking about exactly? Yeah, so the first half was like pretty garbage and I actually fell asleep.
Oh, garbage! You threw
Oh,
garbage.
wow.
I fell asleep.
You fell
With
asleep?
I didn't
With-
fall asleep when I was watching Warcraft.
With a capital G?
No, like in the middle. If there was if there was like a middle letter, like in between capital.
Okay.
Garbage with a
So
period.
like a bold lowercase G.
Yeah, both lowercase. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say garbage, but I mean I fell asleep because it was so boring. So like I guess it was pretty bad. And then but the second half, I actually liked it. I did enjoy that part, but I mean, yeah, as a whole, I mean I have to consider the fact that I fell asleep, you know, and that really takes down the quality of a movie if it was that
Sure.
boring.
And I will mention this before you forget it. Kirkland, who's going to be returning on a cast here soon, he saw it with us. Secretary saw it with us. You saw it, and then you said the same thing. 4 people at one point told me that they almost fell asleep in the first half of the movie.
Mhm.
Not the greatest sign.
I went fully.
Oh yeah, you went full.
I
The
straight
other
dozed.
3
You
said
said false.
I straight dozed.
Wow.
I had the head bob. Oh,
I definitely yawned a couple times. Like I wasn't at any risk of falling asleep,
Taylor
but it was like there was a couple times where it's like
It's
He's
okay,
like,
Taylor.
he's like in
I
his car,
can go
man,
for
we're gonna
it,
talk
but
about this
snooze.
great Star Wars movie, and now he's getting the vibe like, oh, they're turning on.
I did
me.
like some things. I did
They're
like
ordering.
some
They're
things,
ordering.
but,
You guys
They're,
are all
or-
defectors.
they're gonna do Order 66 on me, aren't they? That's what he's thinking. Kyle, what do
We
you
need to
think?
purge the
Um,
Geekverse podcast.
I think it was a pretty good movie overall. I still liked it, but I feel like what Tyler was saying, that there's could have been some parts that they could have really emphasized, and they definitely have changed it up from previous movies, especially if you're going off Force Awakens.
Did they?
As in the score, I think. For,
Yeah, they changed that up for sure. Yeah.
So,
God.
some
hear
of
his
the
voice?
stuff that I felt like could have been more prominent. We'll talk about later, but
Mhm.
I still like the movie, even though I was a little bit bored at some points. But overall, it was good.
I'll start with a mega positive that I think it's the best prequel we've ever gotten, so that's a good thing. You know,
There
I
you
would
go.
easily watch this over all the other three over and over. I'd watch this 3 times in a row before I had to watch those other 3.
But the pod racing though.
Oh.
I think
20 minutes of
I think it
pure
is
fun.
still a good movie. The action's great when it's happening. The acting is great. The writing is great. There are some cool surprises. But I think this is the thing that I'm kind of maybe on the other side of Tyler when you said, "Oh, you're happy that Star Wars is around." Like I thought I was, and then when I walked out of this, I'm like, I'm still happy I got to see it, but I don't feel, other than a 5-minute scene which we'll get into, or sorry, a minute scene we'll get into, I don't feel my life is any more entertained than I was before this movie. Like, to be honest, we went out to dinner before the movie, and I had more fun in that hour and a half hanging out with these guys than the movie, which I love you guys, but it shouldn't be that way. I should be, when I saw Force Awakens, and it's tough to compare, I get it, we talked about that before because the hype was so high and everything, but even then, I was locked from start to finish. This, I was locked, I think 5 minutes in total for a few things. I didn't really, I was kind of bored, to be honest, because I think my biggest thing was I hope they prove me wrong of I know what happens in this movie, make me still enjoy it, and they didn't really. It just felt like going through the motions, felt like, okay, I know where we're going next, and I know where we're going next. And like I've been saying this for months, and Taylor said no, but like everyone fucking died. Everyone fucking died. Just like what we said at dinner, what's Bail Organa going to do? Oh, he's going to come and say, oh, I'm going to go to Alderaan. What does he come? Oh, I'm going to go to Alderaan. You know, like, and then Vader, oh, he's going to be there to talk to Krennic and, like, lay down the whip. And he says a terrible line when he says, don't choke on your aspirations. Super cheesy. Un-Vader, that's what I mean. Like, there's a lot of moments that I thought could have been cool, but it didn't do it. I was never that engaged, so.
Sorry, Taylor.
Yeah, but I still think it's a good movie. Taylor, jumping into it now, so I guess we can ask that. Did that affect you at all? Obviously it didn't, but knowing, and I'll ask you all this, knowing how it ended, did you guys kind of feel this movie was, is this what you pictured in your head? Like, is this kind of, like, did you feel surprised at anything? What are some positives, I guess I'll throw for you guys first. We can start there. Is there anything jumping up being like, oh, I like that a lot, We'll get into cast it in a bit, but Taylor, or you want to go?
Well, yeah, I think for me, the AT&Ts, when they first popped up.
AT&T. Our newest sponsor.
The AT-ATs, when they first showed up, out of nowhere, I thought that was really cool. I thought that really stood out. Those fights, the actual battle scenes were pretty sweet, that I quite enjoyed.
There was, on that, whatever planet that is, there was a lot of... Scarif,
yeah.
that's the one. I thought there was a lot of good battle scenes on it.
I feel like that was kind of the best part of the movie was kind of just the end.
It was, but that didn't even get me like fully engaged because I'm just sitting there watching. I'm like, they're all gonna die. Like I was never like, and I know in most movies the good guys are gonna win, but it was just never like I didn't care when anyone died. You know, like when the blind like Force user died. I'm like, cool. They also did this cheesy thing where 5 fucking stormtroopers were shooting at him, and because he put his hands together, no one hit him. So it's like every other movie when Obi-Wan has to like block things.
Well, they don't
like
really
this-
hit much anyway.
I know, but it was just like
the
it was.
Death Troopers. Come on, man.
But they're supposed to be the highest. They're
I
next to that,
know.
so it's
That's
like.
the point that
So,
they
like,
were missing because of
when
the
he
Force,
died-
which he just kept repeating and repeating. And
Oh,
repeating.
and then his friend kept repeating, and it's
Don't
like
we know
get
that
it.
Darth Vader says, like, even to the Death Star, it's insignificant to the power of the Force. That's what he was doing. He was embracing the Force. So obviously these.
Yeah, but he still
measly-
died.
He still died, yeah, after an explosion, but he used the Force.
But I guess that's my point. Like, I didn't feel anything when they died anybody. Even when Jin and whatever, what's his name, Cassian or whatever, when
Yeah.
they died, I'm like, I'm just At least they
so
didn't
glad they
kiss.
kiss.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
really
thank
worried they were gonna
God.
kiss because they
Oh,
kept like
my
getting really
goodness.
close. I'm like, don't
Oh,
tack
no.
this on. They're gonna die. We don't need this like, oh, and they were in love when they died, or they cared for each other. It's like the hug was good
Eternal
enough.
love.
Yeah, and because they did the whole hugging thing and they went away, it's like, yeah. I'm sorry, Tim. I'm trying to.
Am I going
positive.
next?
Go, because you're the most positive, I think. So we can probably talk off your positives, because I don't know what the rest of the cast has as much as positive.
Put Darth down here.
For our podcast listeners, Taylor's brought a large action figure
Mhm.
Darth Vader with him.
He's half my size.
No,
when you're
I'm definitely not going to
well,
say that.
Yeah.
He's like Chucky's size.
He's like a third, maybe.
I guess it
Like,
depends what
maybe
he's
a
talking
quarter.
about.
Are you talking? Yeah, true.
I'd say a third.
Smaller than he was in the movie.
Yeah.
So you
It's debatable.
knowing that they get the plans
We don't
all
have
didn't
much for
affect your
scale.
excitement, didn't hurt
No,
it all.
because to be honest, I heard so many back and forths as to where this movie was going to end, as it begins with A New Hope. I didn't know exactly where it was, and I just thought, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to watch the movie and wait and see. As for all the characters dying, like, sure, I assumed that they would die. I told myself, like, no,
That's not what you told me at
I know,
dinner.
'cause I-
You said less than 50% would die.
because I wanted to believe that, no, maybe these characters will live and they go off and do other things.
They
Because
all
I
die.
didn't want to just jump to these conclusions and
Hope,
assume
Travis.
Yeah, hope.
even if they were very well-rounded conclusions to assume they all died. I didn't want to just assume, because this was a movie where I didn't know these characters first appeared and we haven't heard of them anywhere else, so they could have popped up in other areas of the series, in other films, future films, or other books, who knows what. So I put that in the side of my mind, just thought, okay, you don't have to think about that, just go to this movie and just enjoy what you're seeing, because it's a Star Wars movie and they're going to show the Star Wars universe, a bit of it, and there's not a lot of, like, you don't get to see much in the books and stuff between episodes 3 and 4 unless you want to watch the cartoon, but for me, the hugest thing that got me are Easter eggs. I know I've talked about this before with films that really stand out for me are when they have little Easter eggs or little hints and teases and things. I love that. I'm a huge sucker for it. So when they dropped in I Have the Death Sentence on 12 Systems 2 characters, did you guys catch on to that?
Yeah,
Now
that's
that,
in my negatives.
like, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I saw that and I'm like, oh, that's freaking, I love that. Just to have it slid in there, I thought, that's cool. And it didn't take too much time. I just thought it was just, the guy could have bumped into anyone. The fact that he bumped into those two, I think it's just great.
It just happened that he just bumped into those two.
Oh yeah, because he's got the death sentence on 12 systems, so you know he's on the move.
Well, Taylor Field just made me laugh more than the movie did, so that's good.
I can keep going.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Oh.
Let it all out.
As for the characters, I mean, I definitely love the characters. Like, sure, as you said, like, it was safe to, you could assume that they were gonna die, but I mean, I didn't have that in mind. I thought each of the characters was really interesting to kind of just, to see where they kind of came up from, and to especially see the one, Donnie Yen, is that his?
Donnie Yen.
Yen. I think it was really cool to see people who weren't Force users or Force wielders like Jedi, but had a huge background in protecting that kind of historical piece to the Jedi. You finally get to see one on screen and what their role is and how much, like, even though the Empire has totally ravaged this last place of the Jedi, these people are still, they're very strong. And
What do you mean, these people?
Like Donnie Yen or whatever.
I know.
I
I love that he didn't.
Give
Oof.
it a hard time, man.
I'll give you that. I really like Donnie Yen, even though other than the Force over and over, I thought it was a bit much. I get what they're going for, and it came off maybe a little cheesy at times, I hate to say it, but I liked that character overall. He was my second favorite character, I'd say.
I love, like, I am a huge
Taking
fan.
Mads out, because he's always one.
I'm a huge fan of martial arts, and that whole I am that battle sequence where he was going kung fu on these stormtroopers. That was really, really, really cool. I really like that because it's not just blasters and stuff. You actually see, like, hand to hand without lightsabers and that sort of
That
sense.
was good.
And it was neat to see stormtroopers actually hit their targets too. That was actually cool. These weren't First Order stormtroopers. These weren't clone troopers.
Not when he was
Stormtroopers.
praying, though.
Hey,
Those weren't stormtroopers. Those were death troopers.
So I would,
It's in the name.
I would think that's in their name to, like, cause death. You know?
Yeah, themselves. They're
I
the
liked
ones.
them. I liked their voice box. They had a different sounding voice box. That was cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I like to tell myself kind of like as I'm watching a movie, like
It's good. It's good.
Yeah, I'm picturing these Death Troopers as like the clone troopers from like the Clone Wars or whatever kind of thing. Because you said they were so like skilled and everything, so that's what I was kind of telling myself. That'd be so cool if that's where these guys, their background is from. These guys are actually clone troopers, kind of in a sense. And I got more stuff, but I'm gonna let someone else talk.
Yeah, I'd probably be on the defense with that. Tyler, what do you think? What are the overwhelming positives?
The scenic shots,
Mhm.
I enjoy. I
Very
can always
beautiful
enjoy
movie.
that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, definitely. Just all the different planets and the environments that they have. It's just like it's always good to see those, and like all like the opening shots of each planet was really nice and just very well shot. So I'd say that was a big plus for me. The fight scenes for the most part, like as you said, the fight scene was what Donnie Yen. At the
Is that
start.
the actor's name or the character's
Actor's name. I don't know what the
Vader.
fuck that character's name
Yeah, I don't know if
was.
the other name. But yeah, I thought that one was really cool to see, and then obviously the Vader scene at the very end.
Mhm.
Oh,
Let's talk about that now and get that away, because I think that's everyone's like
Sure,
highest positive.
yeah.
Because like I was waiting for someone to bring it up.
Mhm.
I still enjoyed the movie, but that right there was worth my $10.50. I could have paid $10.50 and just saw that scene and would have been walked out of the theater and fine. I think it was great to see, because we've never got to see Vader wreck shop and do that. That's what everyone kind of thought we'd get in the prequels, and no, we just got arm crossing, and no, this was cool. Like that shot when he's choking a guy, he throws him on the roof and then just slices him in half. Crazy. Like you get to see him at like the height of his powers and fully like his full strength. Like it's like when we talk about Force Unleashed, that video game when he's on Kashyyyk and he's just throwing
Yeah,
bullets around.
he
Like
was
he
going
was just
ham.
throwing people around, and you could see the fear in their eye. Like that one rebel who was up against the door trying to get the plans, and like he was so scared.
Yeah.
And that scene alone, just that scene I loved with Vader, because I've always said with the prequels, for me, it always kind of hurt him a bit with Anakin. I can never see him the same, but that really helped the establishing, man, he is scary. Like, he can be such a great villain. And that moment it was the best way to end the movie, because you couldn't have topped that. Like, if that was in the middle, the rest of the movie would have been like, yeah, but that's Vader scene, you know? And it's only, I think, 45 seconds maybe,
Probably.
but it was great. And like to tie it in, I loved that the ending was the first like 2 minutes of New Hope. It was the exact same shots of them running and the corridors, like it was shot for shot the same, and like until you got to Leia, CGI Leia, and that was cool. Like saying Hope was a little on the nose because Star Wars 4 is a New Hope and Hope, but you know. So that Vader scene, fantastic. One of my favorite scenes of the year.
I mean, I don't even really like Darth Vader that much. And these guys
Dylan was
really
crapping on his
salty when
look
I say that.
before we started.
I've never just like been a fan of Darth Vader. I think he's just kind of lame. I think he looks kind of stupid too, and I know that just makes everyone mad. I don't really care. That's just always been my opinion.
Yeah.
But that scene,
He rebels.
But that scene was really good. You could like feel the terror in the eyes of the rebels there, and it was just like throwing out the guy in the wall.
Make sure they can see your
In the
face,
roof.
Taylor. You get paid to show your face. Kyle,
You
what
don't
do you
get paid
think?
at all.
Yeah, not after tonight. What do you think about Vader scene?
I thought the Vader scene was the best part of the entire movie. Just to
Easily.
reiterate what Travis said, I could have just watched that. I actually turned over to Travis. I could have just watched this last 5 minutes and would have been completely content with this whole movie.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
'cause
even just like take out the rest of the movie and add like another 5 minutes of just Vader going through the entire ship,
Oh yeah.
and
even it would have been sick if Vader was even on the planet, then somehow got off the planet. I don't know how, but just destroying,
True.
just
I would
in the
put-
battle,
Just killing
just
people.
destroying everyone.
Like
Fighting
he's the
Daddy
one that
Yoda.
ends up coming in and like
Cleaning
pretty much
house.
ends the mission.
It wasn't even just that scene. When the ships were going to hyperspace, he just comes in
That
and
was one of my
Yeah.
favorite
Yeah,
things.
some of the
Smash.
ships,
Yeah,
yeah.
the smash, and it was
And
just like,
fucking-
oh, it's
yeah,
over.
his
It's
super
over.
destroyer just
Yeah.
comes in, just
Yeah.
good times.
And I will say, when I did, like, that was this only scene I sat out of my chair for, and then I did think the first time we saw him, I did get goosebumps. And I know we're talking about pauses, but I did want to mention two things that did bug me. We talked about this already.
Yeah.
His look was a little off. His helmet, as you can see, Taylor's holding a toy. His helmet is inside his thing, and yeah, people be like, oh, whatever, but it's like, it's just like, if he's only in it for like 4 to 5 minutes, you would think like, hey, let's get this fucking perfect. Because
Yeah.
like, I guarantee, because like his helmet's weird, but then if you watch this and New Hope back to back, you'll see him 10 seconds later looking different. So it's kind of a little jarring.
he wants to
And-
impress Leia.
Ew, that's his
What?
daughter.
Well, she's a senator or whatever. He wants to look formal.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And the other
Yeah.
thing-
I don't know what you're thinking about.
No, wait, you saved yourself there, Taylor.
The other thing that I had a problem... Yeah, Luke's into
There's
it,
enough
so why
fanfic
not?
already, Taylor.
The other thing I had a problem with is this is
Get
not...
Shmee up in
Yeah, Shmee for life. Like, not to take a shot at the actor, I think it's great they went for authenticity and they got the original actor. I think him being a little older hurt it because his voice did not sound deep enough. I don't know if it was him or the people that do his voice, like the editing and sound mixing. It didn't sound like full-on
Yeah.
Vader. It sounded... Like, you heard it and you're like, oh, that's Vader, but it didn't sound the exact same. It was very deep and kind
It wasn't
of
as menacing.
yeah, like there was something. It was almost a bit lighter, and I didn't like. It kept taking me out of it when he was talking with Krennic, and I had the same thing with Tarkin as well. Tarkin, who was completely CGI, other than they probably had a face, like a guy acting with face markers. He looked great. I actually was fine with him being CGI because Peter Cushing's been dead for a long time, but his voice didn't sound exactly the same. And I just think in a world where we live, where there's so many great like voice impressionists, like. I wish Tarkin's voice sounded identical, and Vader's I wish they, even with James Earl Jones being 70 now, found a way to make it deeper or darker. I don't know. So it was something that took me out, but just the action scenes was great. And the talking scenes were great. I didn't like that line of when he said, don't choke on your aspirations. And he's literally choking him. And I was like,
That's not
like,
Vader.
but that's not, it kind of, like, I got flashbacks to, like, I don't know, the do-over. Like, it felt like, I was just like, why is this line... Like, it felt like a parody line, almost, you know? And to me, like, Vader's very subtle, and he says stuff, but there's meaning in it, where that was just so on the noise of, like, get it, I'm choking you, and don't choke on your aspirations. It's like, okay, I got it, I get what you're going for. And that's what I felt this movie did a lot of. Like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Oh, you like the AT-ATs. I didn't.
Oh,
when
really?
I saw them, I was like, I didn't even get goosebumps, and I was like... sorry, laptop. I was like, fuck, like, I should.
Poor
Like,
guy.
all the action stuff is good, but I never got that feeling of, like, oh, I did feel like I'm watching Star Wars, but I just felt like it was something I'd seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, after growing the AT-ATs there, they weren't quite as... They weren't the same. They just
No.
felt weak and just like placeholders.
They felt like they got added on to, like, I'm sorry, but to, like, sell toys. Like, oh, we should put these in there. You, because you were holding the toy, what do you think about Vader's voice and look? I want to get your opinion before we moved on from that.
I won't lie, the look I caught on right away.
Yeah.
I definitely
right
noticed
away, I was
that.
like, wait a second.
But I disregarded it.
Of course.
Give it a pass.
I
young
disregarded
like
it.
it, but-
I disregarded it when
You are no. You're one of the most hardcore Star Wars fan ever. He's supposed to look identical. How easy is it to put his helmet in the fucking suit? And you're like, you give it a pass?
Hear me out. I give it a pass when he went crazy on those rebels at the end.
Yeah, because it
Okay,
could come
minus
out.
the Rebels part. What did you think of the
Yeah,
movie?
take his talking part out because we all love that part.
The voiceover, I noticed it at first, and I definitely agree with you. They should have tweaked it a little bit at least, but overall, I'm just happy that they did get like James Earl Jones back to voice it. So for me, that I'm still happy with it.
Mhm.
But I definitely see what you mean. It was a bit light, and it could have been a bit darker.
Dylan, as you, the man who views Vader as a doofus, did you think anything about that talking scene?
I noticed that he looked different.
Oh,
I mean, I didn't
wow.
really care.
Yeah, that's saying
It's
something.
a character I don't really like the look of anyway, and he looks slightly different. I don't really
Look
care.
at that. He's so cool.
I don't know.
You'd be scared if that guy came up to you, the real Vader.
Oh, of course I would be
Okay,
scared. I mean,
fair
he can
enough.
choke you with his hand from 10 feet away. Of course I'd be scared. But
Some say further.
I mean, his face, he kind of looks like a bug or something. I don't know. And then he has like a weird looking helmet.
He is burned underneath, so
yeah.
It's-
Well, I know
There is
that.
a reason for that.
But I think like he'd be even more terrifying if you saw his real face, because that's pretty.
He couldn't live though, Dylan. He could not live.
Well, sure he could. He could have one of those inhalers, like the. Whatever
think he
it's
has
like
a
for
good-
I think
his-
his face is a little more fucked up than that is.
Oh, okay. Well,
He doesn't. He wants to impress.
you
Leia.
asked for my opinion and then you shit on it.
But what did you
Fuck
think about
guys.
that scene in particular, the talking one when he had with Krennic?
In the middle?
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty lame. Well,
No,
that's what you just said.
No,
Why
I-
are you surprised?
I think I'm
It was
surprised. I
lame.
think I'm surprised
Screw you for agreeing
because
with me.
Vader's in a scene and we're all just kind of like I did not think walking out of this I'd be hearing anyone say it's lame and me kind of be like, yeah, I guess like he has a point, you know. That's why I'm laughing because it's just more like
Mhm.
I'm kind of in shock. Like, yeah, like I kind of was.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, he just. I think one of my problems always with Vader is that he's just like so rigid and like looks so weird, and it makes sense, I guess, if he's all crispy on the inside. But
He has
like,
no legs or arms, Dylan.
yeah, I don't know. It's just
Zero of them.
I just don't like Vader. So like I just don't. I think his part in the middle was it didn't have good lines, and it was a character I don't like in the first place. So like,
Yeah.
I don't like that part.
Mm-hmm.
But I will admit that after that scene is when the movie picked up for me.
Right after that scene.
Right after
Yeah,
that scene is when
that's fair,
I
yeah.
actually like. I liked that the rest of the movie. After that, it's
So
just
from
that
when you woke up.
I woke up. I remember I woke up right when he was the one guy I can't remember his name
About
was
to snipe
zooming in on Mads.
Yeah.
I woke up and he was zooming in on Mads. I was like, oh, what's
See,
happening here?
Mads woke him up. Mads has that thing. You're like, Mads, I can smell.
And then I
him."
think that scene with Vader was like right after that.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah, it
close.
yeah.
Yeah, because he has to go talk.
So
to him,
I mean, I liked that scene because after it was it it started a better movie.
Mhm.
So
maybe you could
Right
thank
on.
Vader for that.
There you go. Should we move on to Mads?
Did you have it? Why? No. Why?
We're
Mads.
still
He's
going
such a
over
small.
Mads,
He has
bro.
such a
He's
small
amazing.
role. He has
But
a.
it's Mads.
Did you have anything to say in that talking scene or no? Because we're
It was
talking
alright.
about Vader
That
and
was-
then we're moving on. Well,
I did
one
Go off
thing.
somewhere positive.
I'll agree with you guys. I did notice right away his costume did not look the same. I thought it was off, but I wasn't too sure. It's like, oh, I haven't seen the original costume in a while, so maybe I'm just thinking it's wrong, but no, that's
Yeah.
right. But yeah, you hit on the nose of the voice. It's just a little bit deep, and like it was good to see him at first, but I felt like just that talking scene. I felt like I didn't have enough fear really coming from it.
Yeah.
I feel like, I guess I'm comparing to the last scene where even when he just first walks into the room with all those guys there, you could just see those actors just like actually show so much fear and they're so scared of him, right?
And
Like
then the lightsaber came up.
and then like, oh my goodness, like that's I feel like I could have had that a little bit more. Even like let's say with the Dark Stormtroopers when they came in, like they're supposed to be dark or
Death.
stormtroopers.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that. I felt like, oh, these are just 4 guys who just came out of another ship and are supposed to be better, I guess. But that could have been something dealt with let's say the score as well too, which I felt was really weak through this whole movie.
Yeah, we'll get in that.
Right.
One thing I want to mention before we move on from Vader was because we were talking about this when we saw the first trailer. I did not like the fake out of the BAFTA tank. Because, like, obviously, so we find out Vader's the one in there. So he's just healing himself when he can, I guess, right? So it's fine, but, like, they use this fucking cloaked old guy who's nobody. They try to make it look in the trailers that was, like, maybe the Emperor or somebody, like, something important. And, like, it's fine if that scene's in the movie, but to show that off for me, that kind of pissed me off. Because, like, that was a big thing when I saw the trailer first. I'm like, who's this guy in the cloak? This guy is probably fucking nobody. Unless it turns out to be Snoke, then, like, this guy's nobody. And it was just, like, they're like, who's this guy, like, just looking over Vader? And, like, the Royal Guards were there, which was super weird, because they were only around the Emperor, right? So why were they
For the
there?
most part. But I mean, if you have the Emperor's most powerful asset in kind of this state where he's in like incubation and trying to heal, I
Yeah.
can see why you would expend like Royal Guards to guard him.
I can see that, but I think that scene was done purposely and shown the way it was in the trailer to make us think otherwise, and I didn't like that. Because that old guy had no service plot, we know nothing about him. Why does this guy, we know the Royal Guards, why does this guy get to watch Vader? You know? It's a minor critique, but it's something that like made me mad when I saw him. Like, I don't know you. You're nobody.
Get out of here.
yeah. Yeah, but it's like the Krennic's here, like, and can he hear through the BAFTA tank? I guess he has speakers and headphones in the tank.
Clearly
I guess.
he can.
Cool.
You can read lips.
Tyler, what are some bigger? I think you said the Vader scene, the shots. Anything else?
Robot Man. What was his name? CK? Something.
I think
CK.
K. Was it K2?
KS5.
No, K2S2.
C4.
Let's call him K.
K.
That was
Those like
K2S2.
or like S.
KS.
I enjoyed him.
Keep talking, Alpha.
I enjoyed him.
Okay.
I thought his role was good. Little comedic parts.
I was glad that he was like the only comedic.
Yeah, exactly. He did it well.
K2SO.
K2SO.
Yes.
I thought he did a very good job of acting his role. He was enjoyable. I think I don't know. He was one of the characters that I liked the most, honestly. I found I'm not gonna get into it because we're talking positives right now. But yeah, I definitely thought he was.
Well, if it's something
one of
that
my favorite characters.
links to the thing,
Yeah.
you could. Like I'm.
Well, we'll talk about the acting later.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I thought that was good. Trying to think of other positives.
Well, I'll just jump on that. I liked that
Yeah.
character too. I enjoyed his. I thought he was like. I actually liked his lines. I thought they landed for me for the most
Yeah,
part. They were actually
definitely.
funny more than they weren't. And yeah, I don't know. I thought he was good as well.
Yeah, I think that's all I've got for like big positives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Just scenery, battle scenes, and K2.
Yeah, the scenery was really cool. Seeing even that Jedi, the
Jeddah.
Jeddah.
Yeah.
seeing the statue of was that Obi-Wan or
Probably just
a
default Jedi. Yeah.
Default Jedi.
just seeing
Default
him
Jedi
half
number
laying
2.
on the ground, right in stone. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Even seeing the X-wings kind of crash into the dirt and being part of the city as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting, and even the rebels or whatever you want to call the actual rebels, but what's that guy's name? Salguera? Even his guys and all those people who were fighting against the Empire, they all had different equipment from different, like from the rebels and from the Empire, with their costumes. I thought that was really cool as well too.
I didn't notice that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was the costumes were really well done, and the scenery and the cinematography was really good as well too. So, kudos to those people who did that.
Yeah.
Kudos. Dylan, did you say yours?
I would agree with pretty much what Kyle just said. I think there's the other planet with like the Machu Picchu looking like foresty kind of rebel base, whatever that planet was called.
Yes. Was that Scarif again?
The Rebel base was on? Yeah, before?
There were so many planets.
Oh yeah,
Yavin 4 is a classic.
Yeah.
I don't know any of the names. Doesn't matter. The one with all like the trees and stuff.
And the Aztec temples.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Yavin 4.
Yavin 4.
That's a moon, actually.
Okay, sorry.
The fourth moon of Yavin.
I don't care. It looked pretty cool. It was pretty fun. Nice, like that shot. The part with the city like kind of imploding on itself and they were flying out. It was not bad. It was pretty cool. I did like the AT-ATs. I like that whole kind of fight scene. But yeah, I mean that's about all I got for positives really.
Yeah. I echo the same thing. Vader, some couple battles. I like Diego Luna who played Cassian. Yeah. It's about it for me. Like it flowed. Like they got to point A to point B. I guess I'll say I really did like. Other than Mads fucking saying Stardust every time he talked to his daughter, I did like the setup. I did like Jyn Erso, actually. I did like the setup with the whole the kills of the parents, everything like that.
Yeah, that Stardust thing was pretty predictable. When
yeah,
they were, like,
and
looking
then,
for the term, I was like,
Oh,
I called it. I was like,
but it was literally every flashback, every scene, he called her Stardust, and like it was just too much, like
I
just
think it's
over and over.
taken to the point like, oh wait, Stardust, that's the answer.
Yeah, but that.
They could just hit it home for people who wouldn't just.
Twice would have been good enough at the beginning of the movie, and then when he talks to her when she's older again, you know. But it would happen like even when he's dying, he's like my Stardust, and it's like, okay, man, I get it. I like it's whatever I was talking about earlier of like it's like the choking lines. Like I get it. I know what you're going for. This is gonna play a role. You don't gotta keep saying it. You know, it's like. Yeah, I'm gonna stop because I'm just seeping into like I'm trying, but I like that relationship. Like I said, all the performance was good. No one was like bad acting. I don't think. Like it's like that's what I mean. I can't fault this for like this was really bad or this really stuck out. It's just little things in the overall package that I wasn't the biggest fan of. So, yeah. I had something to start off with, but I can't. Oh, opening crawls. I want to start off with because we talked about this on the cast.
Right.
feed,
Yeah.
I think it needed it because of two things. One. The Rogue One actual title sequence was pretty lame. Like, the way it just, like, came out in Rogue One and blah, blah, blah. And the thing was, the second reason
there was like 3 people that clapped when I saw that.
2 of them were stoned, just like, you know, they're sitting beside me in the secretary. They're super stoned. The other reason is because, as someone that's educated on Star Wars, I know this, but you met all these characters right away, like Galen Erso and Orson Krennic and Saw Gerrera, all these characters that, like, if you know about Clone Wars, the animated series, or books and whatnot, you know who these people are. I didn't feel like they did a good enough job explaining who everybody was right away, and I feel like you don't really get a gist of, like, who Saw Gerrera really is, and my biggest point is this, there's a person sitting in front of us, when Jyn Erso appeared, and when they kidnapped her or whatever, and they were going over that scene where it's like, oh, you're going to do this for us? The person in front of me asked if that was Rey. That's why I feel like this film needed open and crawl, because there were people like that. Because she went over, leaned over to her son, who was probably around our age, and said, is that Rey? And that's where right then I'm like, it needed it, because we got it. But one, yes, for me, I felt the start was really jarring. I missed that. Like, that's why it feels like a Star Wars movie, but not exactly. Like, it feels like the Clone Wars show, which are Star Wars, but there's something missing, because it's like, oh, it's kid-friendly. That's what this felt like. It was Star Wars, but there's something missing. I felt like that the whole way movie, and start off with the crawl, and I felt like I needed that. Once I saw that girl say, oh, who's Rey? It was Saw Gerrera. They didn't tell you who the fuck Saw Gerrera was. Like, So I do think it needed an opening crawl. What do you guys think after seeing the movie now? Because we debated this a couple weeks ago. So.
Well, I mean, from my personal perspective, I didn't think that was Rey, and so I didn't think I needed to call for that. I guess who else to explain? I don't think I needed to be explained who Matt's character was. I felt like I understood that from the scene.
Yeah.
The bad... What was the name of the main bad guy?
Krennic. The white, yeah.
I felt like he was just like a typical bad guy, and that's kind of what he was through the whole movie. I didn't really need... I don't think I needed that personally. Like, I understand if there's some casual people out there who don't understand that this is before 3 and 4 and has nothing to do with the latest movie. That would make sense because that came out last year.
The previews didn't do a good enough job either of letting you know. They never once said like, "Oh, before A New Hope." They never once said that in the previews. It was always just like, "Here's Star Wars."
But from my viewing experience, I don't think that would have changed. I don't think I wouldn't have not fallen asleep if that was the case. You know, like I don't think that would have changed anything for me. I felt like I understood the characters to the point I needed to. I guess.
Sure, I'll go. I don't think it really needed it to explain. Okay, what was her name?
Jyn Erso.
Yeah, Jyn Erso.
I can remember that name.
Yeah,
come on now.
Perfect syllable.
It's not Rey now.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. She did kind of look like Rey.
She looks. No, she looks. I think she looks a lot like Rey, but I can.
Yeah. So I can see how people might get mixed up. You know, all white people look the same, so understandable.
Wow.
Whoa. Yikes. Just jokes.
Cassian.
Cassian, he was really good. I really liked him. I liked how they all didn't have the same accent. They had different accents, I guess, just in general, just to show a little bit more diversity throughout the cast.
That was good. There's a lot of people of color in this movie, and that was good because there's always that joke. It's like Mace Windu, Finn, and Lando. That's it.
But what are we talking about here?
The opening crawl. Do you think you need?
We're not talking about.
Stop looking at IMDb. I'm closing.
Other than that, the only other person who I was kind of unsure of that I would have liked to know a little bit more was the guy who helped Jyn.
Cassian.
Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Yeah. Saw Guerrero.
Saw Guerrero. I would have liked the guy who what?
I had the inhaler.
Yeah, the guy who had the inhaler. I would have liked to know a little bit more about him, or like a little bit more of a backstory of what he was doing, other than just, oh, we're fighting him and we're also fighting the Empire. Like, that sucks. We probably should work with him, I guess. That was kind of the backstory that you got with him. So I would have liked maybe a little bit more. And you did see his guys and look pretty like they were capturing some
2 tubes,
capturing that pilot. But at the same time, even that pilot, like there was, like, what was the motive for that pilot?
Galen sent him there to get him the information.
But like, what was the motive of him wanting to do that?
Oh, well, I couldn't tell you.
Well, yeah. So
there's many characters. You don't really know why Donnie Yen's friend just kind of is like, "Yep, I'm gonna join you guys." You know, like other than to get off that planet to survive. They don't ever really give too much of reasons why these characters are doing it. You know, even that pilot at the end is like, "For Galen," and it's like, why? Yeah, like what was your connection to him? Like, why did he? Like, that's one thing I think that they didn't flesh out the characters good enough. But I would say the thing I did like about the movie that they did show the sides of the Empire and the rebellion of what they were fighting for, and like with Cassian saying you don't know what I've done and blah blah. Like they made it look like the rebels were not fully like just like it wasn't a black and white situation. Like they've done things they've regret. So that's one positive I would say for this movie that they did really stress and get into that like differences and how the Empire. Even Krennic sees that he's like because Galen says like this is gonna just be something about like it's just gonna be too powerful, like this weapon, like it's just too. I can't remember. It's just like a death machine or something. And he's like, well, that's sometimes the step to peace. You know, like he said that like first comes that and then will come peace. You know,
first comes terror. And
it'll be a weapon of terror. And he said, well, terror leads to peace or something like that. And I like that. So I will say that because I didn't say that. That you did see the sides a bit more, and I like that because in the sagas you don't. You're just all good guys. Luke's, you know, kissing his sister. Han's, you know, nerf herder.
Opening crawl. YouTube.
I think it would have been necessary just to sort of set the tone for the movie. Because it just kind of threw you in there. You're just like, oh, okay, things are happening now. Whereas normally that does happen, but you know why things are happening, and you know kind of like what's going on at the same time in a way at the start of the film. I think if there was to be a crawl, they could have explained why they needed Mads' character. What was his name?
Galen.
Why they needed Galen to come back to help with the Death Star. Why Saw Gerrera was doing his thing aside from the Rebel Alliance and sort of where the Rebel Alliance was at that part.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were very disorganized.
Yeah.
The Rebel Alliance until she came in.
But it could have been like the Rebel Alliance is struggling to form or like get, I don't know. It could have opened in some way.
Yeah.
That kind of eased you into the film a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And because it never explains why Galen left the Empire. He obviously saw that they were doing wrong.
Yeah, but we just when we get that flashback, he's pretty chummy with everybody.
Yeah,
he's
like why he
with
left
them.
and why he's hiding from them too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It never
Because we don't know
explains
why he does leave.
Yeah.
It's just like they're drinking one moment. He even says to her, she says like, "Oh, don't be scared."
Yeah.
But clearly he's scared later on because he leaves, right? But we don't know why.
And like Saw Gerrera, like what exactly happened between him and the Rebel Alliance or something? I don't know.
Well, if you watch Clone Wars, apparently you find that out.
But
So you got to watch 5 seasons of Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Taylor, a couple of weeks ago, you were on the side of you said it was fine without one. Do you still feel that way now after seeing the film? Yeah.
Yeah, I still feel fine. I didn't have any problems picking up, but like even if I wasn't a Star Wars fan, I still would.
From
have
the
fun.
perspective of an anime fan.
With Saw Gerrera, I thought I wouldn't even have to watch Clone Wars to figure out where he was in the story. He was just, as the Rebels said, he was with the Rebels at one point, and then he was an extremist. He obviously got violent, and so he went his own way. That's all I needed to know. I didn't even know his whole backstory. They covered that. It was 5 seconds. They explained it. He went his own way, did his own thing, and then as for what happened with Galen Arso, I think that they didn't have to really explain where his story was because they covered that he's a farmer now. Obviously, he's doing his own thing, and from what I
But
picked
they didn't
up,
cover that.
What
They
I
just said
picked
he's
up-
a farmer.
yeah,
Yeah.
but what I picked up was that he left because he had no more usage to the Empire, so he was able to go off and do his own thing.
I don't
Which-
think so
so
because
they're
he was on the
hunting him down
run.
and
Yeah,
trying to
he was on the
capture him.
run. So it's not like they're like, "Oh, you're a free agent now. Go." Right? Like
And obviously they had a plan of like if the Empire does come, she goes to this
Yeah.
place.
It wasn't like he was a free man and then they showed up and he's like, "Why are you taking us again?" You know, like yeah,
Mhm.
he says to Jin, he says, "You know where to go." So it's like, and they were trying to hide too, right? So he was obviously on the run, and I'd still like to know why.
Yeah, but it's like with that scene where everyone's all friends and stuff. I feel like maybe he was decommissioned, he wasn't used anymore, and then maybe you're right, he did choose to leave because he didn't want to get sucked back into it just in case, but they didn't need him anymore. Now they did need him because there was issues, and that's when they started hunting him. But I don't think he just up and left in the middle of the night.
I
So
figured
that's
he
what
like,
I want to know.
I figured he wanted like a better life for his kid or something. He's like, get me out of this corrupt place.
Yeah.
But then that flashback dictates that because he says, "Don't be scared here." He says everything's fine. So that's the thing. Like he reassures Jin that we're all right here. So that's what I mean. So in that flashback, they're all happy. So that's that's my problem.
Yeah,
of,
but
like,
wasn't he? Didn't he say that he was like he had to like lie to her and like keep up this lie for like 10 years or something?
He said
like
that later when he was
Like
doing
after.
making the deaths. Like after they caught him, he said he had to lie and put up this front.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the flashback. That's when he was just like everything's
Before
okay.
he left.
Yeah, it wasn't like we didn't even get.
Right.
I would have liked in that flashback, even if we got some sign of tension with him and Krennic, but they're drinking together, so they're buddies. And if you read Catalyst, apparently they're buddies. So that's I'm still on that fence. I don't feel like they explained that well enough, and I do think a crawl. I think like Tyler said, would have just quickly right away. This is why he left. He didn't agree with the Empire. They wanted to use his research for a weapon. Blah blah blah. But right now, I have to like listen to you be like, oh, could be option A, could be option B, could be option C. And that can work in some movies, but not. I didn't like that for the setup. Like the setup should be the setup. We didn't really get a
It's
setup.
not
We just
supposed
got.
to be a mystery.
We got 8 planets
Thrusted
at
in.
once.
I don't know why. Yes, they could
It was
have
like
the
the
crawl.
Suicide Squad with soundtrack.
But why have the crawl focus so much about Galen when Galen is only in it for a brief time? They would have the crawl cover a bunch like, oh, here's everything. Galen and Krennic, they have this huge backstory together, and then he's in it for like 4 minutes.
You want me to counter you with The Force Awakens? How the whole thing is about, oh, Luke's gone. He blah, blah, blah. He's gone. How much is Luke in The Force Awakens?
Yeah, but it briefly said Luke is gone.
But it still, no, but then it said the Empire, or what the fuck are they called?
And-
The First Order's looking for them, and Kylo Ren's searching
Yeah.
for the map to him. It was all about Luke Skywalker, and he's in there less than Galen Erso in this
Yeah,
movie.
but
it was about the
we've had like
journey.
6 movies about Luke Skywalker though, and like why he's important.
But this character is just as important. If you look at the canon, no, he is, because without him, there's no fucking Death Star.
Yeah.
So without him,
But we learned that in the movie. We don't need an opening crawl to know that. We don't need an opening crawl to see where his backstory is, why he was buddy-buddy, why he left the Empire.
But I still would like to know that, because same with the other characters, I don't know their full motivation. I don't know his motivation for leaving.
What is his motivation for starting the Death Star and having that weakness in it?
Well, no, that was because they took him. They took him away, they killed his wife, and he said, oh, I'm going to play along. My thing is, why did he leave the first time? That's my thing, we don't know why. And that, to me, like, that adds character development, and that adds... Because, like, that's what I mean. If you're just saying, oh, he just got decommissioned, that's like, well, then was he just always fine at the Empire until they, like, killed his wife?
They could
like,
almost just, like, cut that whole first part out then, and just would have had them capturing him, knowing that he's smart enough to know how to do that.
Yeah. And like it's the movie. It's not like it makes the movie worse by not having it, but it would make it better by having it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we'll move on from the crawl. What is any negatives jumping out right away?
I'll jump out and say that I thought, well, we've kind of already talked about this, but I think pretty much all the side characters are like super one-dimensional and like really
paper thin.
Yeah, like Cassian, you guys like that guy? I didn't really. I was like, this is he's your typical asshole who has a good side, and like it was just super like typical. Like there wasn't anything special about him. And then like you just like he was a fine actor, but I didn't really find his like storyline very compelling. And I was kind of hoping that when he got like shot and he fell off, like I was hoping that he wouldn't have to save Jin in the end, because
he did.
For me, like I did not want that from that character because I just didn't care about him very much. And then the blind guy who's also like a karate master, like another kind of just boring one-dimensional character. Then like the tough guy who's like really trigger happy, who like we don't know why he even came with them. Like who cares about that guy?
I heard blind man / karate master's on his resume though before he died. So,
okay,
Donnie Yen, blind man, karate master.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't really
care about anybody.
I didn't like Cassio. I don't like the other guys. I don't like the fight scenes were fine, but I didn't like them, and I guess it doesn't matter because they all die anyway. Like it doesn't really matter, and I don't really care. Like I'm not upset about it that I watched those characters and now they're gone. But even Jin to a degree, like I felt like she was kind of boring.
Yeah. I think that is still, when you say like, oh, they all died, it doesn't matter, but I think it still hurts because you won't be implied to go back and watch this again right away, or even ever, right? Where if you had a lot of cool characters or really good fleshed out characters, you'd be like, oh, they all die, but they're really fun to watch. Where they just kind of all felt like placeholders, you know, it's like, oh, this is the gun guy, and this is the guy who believes in the Force, and here's the tech guy. Like, kind of felt like a Fast and Furious movie, where it's like, oh, we have one of everyone, you know? Like, and I guess, like, I'll jump on, I think with Jin, I liked her backstory, but her as a character was just kind of like, she's there, you know, and I didn't buy it at all when she was the one that gave the rebels this big speech in the middle. Everyone accused her of being a fucking criminal and this, and then she's like, but we're a rebellion, there's hope, and everyone's like, like, what are you gonna do about it? What's the plan? It was like, a second ago, everyone was like, don't believe her, and then she gives a speech, and it's like, I didn't buy it for 1 second. Like, it felt super, it felt kind of lame and cheesy, you know? Like, even Luke in the trilogy, he comes up and says some stuff, but he never stands up and does a speech and be like, for the rebellion! Like, you got, that, it felt like everything in this movie I've seen for another movie, because at one point, there's fucking ships that kill other people, and then I'm like, oh, all of them are gonna throw up their fists and go, and guess what they do? Like, every moment, there's it's a trap dropped. I didn't like when the fucking robot said, oh, I have a bad feeling about this. Like, there was so much stuff, it was just like, I felt like this was, the way Force Awakens was a best of in the good way, I think this was like a best of in like the worst kind of way. Why the fuck were C-3PO and R2-D2 there? I know you like Easter eggs, I don't. That was like really lame.
That's like hardly even an Easter egg.
It's just a cameo, but that to me is just to layer the movie with, in my opinion, the movie's not that good, so, like, or it's good enough, but put in characters that they know and they'll cheer.
Like, should I see Rogue One? Is C-3PO and R2-D2 in it? Oh yeah, they are.
Exactly. And you tell it to a friend, they'll all see it, and then they see the same thing when you like that they bumped into the guy. I didn't. Out of all the fucking places they could, they're gonna bump into this guy who in a day later is on Tatooine. Like, super random. Like, I get it. And then same with the Bail Organa. I didn't like that when he just stepped out, and then it cut, and he didn't say anything until his little meeting there. Like, I think, and I've heard some people they've accused Force Awakens of this, and I disagree. Fan service, I think that's what this was. I think it was just a lot of, oh, the fans will love this, and myself, no one fucking even cheered when they saw R2D2 and C3PO. You know why? Because we saw them last year. It's not a cool... If they were dead and we saw it, that'd be a moment. But now it's like... like, I felt like this was, like, a really shitty dish with a lot of salt on top of it. Not shitty dish, but, like, a mediocre stew with, like, a lot of salt, a lot of butter to spice it up. And it was like, cool, R2D2's there.
And you have one bite that's Mads, and it's like, that was...
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
Oh, this could be good. And then you bite, you're like, oh, you know, blah blah blah. But yeah, my last thing, because I'll forget. Yeah, no, I actually did like Cassian, but I can. The last thing, I see what your point is. I can see why you didn't like him. I liked it. The reason I liked him
To
was
me,
that
he was just like I knew what his storyline was going to be from the first
That's
one. So I was
fair,
like,
yeah.
this guy's an asshole, but I guarantee, you know, he's gonna
Yeah.
step out and be the
Yeah.
hero or something.
yeah, and I have big bias because I really like Diego Luna outside of this. So like I'll
Fair
fully
enough,
admit that I really like him. The thing that I liked about him was at the beginning of the movie when he's talking with that guy and the guy's like, "How are we gonna get out of here?" and he just killed him. I
Yeah.
really liked that.
Yeah, I love how they set that up.
Yeah, I really
Really
liked
well.
that. So that's why I still liked it, because if he didn't do that, the whole is he going to shoot Mads thing wouldn't matter. Because, like, oh, he probably won't. So I knew he wasn't going to, but I did like that he kind of killed this, like, we don't know if he was innocent, but a guy that he probably didn't need to kill, but he killed him anyways, you know?
Yeah.
But he is kind of, I'll say, like,
Yes.
he's kind of like Han Solo, but just with less character and charisma. That thing, like, oh, he'll kill people, but then he's good at the end. But
Yeah.
I agree. But I liked him, and then next to, like, I don't know who I like next. I didn't like the robot. I laughed a couple times, but I felt my problem was every line he had was comedic. Everything was comedic. It was always for a laugh. Where that's why like C3PO will say random stuff and then he'll say something dry humor annoying. Where this robot was like trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And I laughed a couple times. It wasn't like he was like a terrible stand-up comedic just up there. But for me, a lot of the lines didn't hit. And I just didn't. I didn't laugh. I didn't like him the way people did, which sucks because a lot of people come in this movie like, oh, he's a standout. And for me, I was just like, I didn't laugh enough at him, you know. And everything he said, everything was just joke and joke and joke. So.
Fair enough.
Not when he told Jen that she changed.
True, Jen, you've changed, and then he died. Which I actually was. I felt bad when he died. I'll say that.
It was a brutal death, for sure.
Mhm.
He held his own
Mhm.
for a good minute there.
Oh, for sure.
Any other negatives jumping out at people that?
Yeah,
Just on agreeing with you guys, like a lot of the, I don't know if it was the acting or the writing, but none of the characters I really felt anything for.
Yeah.
Like it's, like what's the point of killing them off if no one cares if they die in the first place?
Yeah.
That's like.
Suicide Squad.
Hey, they make it through though.
That's true.
Well,
not
not
Diablo.
Not the
Like-
not the
Not the
Wall
Slipknot.
Slipknot. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
character's
This movie
talking
did not
about.
have a Slipknot. No.
Yikes.
Yeah, just like all their deaths was like, oh, he's dead now.
Well,
There
yeah,
was no,
even
like
the-
build up to any of their deaths either.
Even the tech, just like he was alive, and then the ship
Yeah,
just
the
exploded. and it's
pilot,
like,
yeah, you just see a
dead.
grenade
yeah.
fly
Yeah.
in, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like it was all so like anticlimactic, other than like Jin and Cassian because they got to hug in the fucking like.
Yeah, but
explosion.
even then, like I don't know. I think it would have been better if they let Cassian die earlier when he
Mhm.
fell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You
I
make
think I
that
agree.
make that scene a little bit more dramatic and just have him die there
Because-
and not come
He's
back.
gonna die anyways, right?
Yeah,
so why not have him
exactly.
fall to his death and be like, "Fuck," like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah, and then Jin
Exactly.
could be a little bit more mad, right?
I
Yeah.
thought like maybe because you just hear his body like hit all those
No,
rungs.
first you saw
Yeah.
him hit 3 different things, and then I'm like, oh, they have to be sending us to a brutal death, and they land. I'm like, oh,
Oh.
like,
Yeah.
okay, like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
even like I would have been okay if they had bad guy, his name
Krennic.
Krennic. If they had Krennic shoot Jin and then him like be there to watch his own creation, kind of like just kill him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I would have been okay if they did something.
Oh,
like
so
that.
you want him just to kill Jin?
Like he shoots Jin and then he or
like as
they
if
like
he won. Yeah.
yeah, and then he looks up to see the Death Star, his
Yeah.
own creation
Yeah.
that he like worked so hard for, end up being his own end.
Which I did like seeing that in the movie. To be
Yeah,
honest, when
like
he looked
obviously
up, that
it
was
still
good.
happened,
yeah.
but like
And that's
he-
what I mean. Like this,
like it
has
looked
good-
like he was already dying.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
was
he was
dead
already
no
done,
matter
but
what.
like to see him have like that moment of like success and then just crushed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think
thought it was
for a pretty one-dimensional bad guy, he was kind of like exactly what I wanted out of that character.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
I,
thought
wanted
he,
any
like-
more than what he was.
It's true.
He was kind of boring,
Like-
but like I feel like that was
Yeah.
his role.
Yeah, like as a one-dimensional character, he did a good job.
Yeah.
I
I
was
really
like-
liked it, but I
I
wanted
feel like
more.
a lot of the other characters, I feel like they tried to be more than one-dimensional, as
Yeah.
Dylan said, and they just didn't. Like,
yeah, and I don't
it
know,
was-
and that's the problem with this. I don't know if the movie can warrant them really being not
Yeah.
one dimensional, right? And that's the thing where I always say that
Mhm.
if they want to make characters better, then they should have made
Yeah.
the squad team like 4 people, you know, because they
Yeah.
had they had Jin, they had the robot, they had Cassian, they had the two Asian guys, they had the pilot. Is there someone else I'm missing here? I feel like
That's really
Who knows?
maybe it was just 6,
Like-
which I guess
Like with one, like it's not a for me. It wasn't like just the fact they're one-dimensional characters isn't an issue. It's the fact that they tried to be more, and they had like those moments where they kind of like changed their sort of negative view.
Right.
I guess like
Yeah.
Cassian was like kind of like the dickish asshole bad guy.
follow
Not the like
just
he's
the
kind of
fall
like that
to the
anti-hero
book
kind of guy.
yeah.
And then they try and redeem him in some way, and it like there was no he didn't have any moment where it's like, okay, this makes sense as to why he's now trying to be different.
Well, even with the Jin thing, it was kind of like, oh, so because he's known her for a
Yeah.
few hours, he's gonna feel bad about killing her dad, and it was kind of like I guess, like I understand, but like he seemed pretty cool with killing that guy right away at the beginning. Like he didn't
Yeah.
seem like he wanted to, but
But
he seemed like I have to do it.
Like
you know?
like Jin says in the movie, like didn't even matter. Like he still died anyway. So.
Yeah,
You didn't
exactly.
shoot him, but like you might as well. Like, it doesn't-
Yeah,
that was like her line exactly.
Even
It's yeah,
like
pretty much.
Jin's sudden love for the rebellion. Like at the start, she doesn't give a shit about the rebellion,
Saw,
and
man.
then all of a sudden she loves it, and she's like motivating people to like continue to support it, and it's just like
I think it's more support her idea that her father was right, and she wants to just keep on his legacy more than
Right.
just the rebellion itself.
yes, like I can see why, but it's like I didn't.
I'm just
get
trying
that.
to be.
No,
Like,
no,
the
Yeah,
dad.
no. I can
And then,
see
yeah, all
like
those
why they
other-
wanted her to
Yeah.
change her point of view of the rebellion, but it didn't like hit me as to her having reason.
Yeah,
I
for
guess
sure.
there was no like emotional impact on her there.
And I know it's kind of morphed into it now because we're talking about some of the cast. Like, I thought Saw Gerrera was really bad in this movie. Like
Yeah.
his speeches
Oh,
and his
God.
talking and his like walking up and like Jen, like he
Yeah.
seemed really cartoony, which is not a pun because he's an actual cartoon character. Like
Mhm.
he didn't feel real at all. Like he felt like it felt like a high school play. Like, and it
Mhm.
sucks because he's an Academy Award winning actor. I think that's how they want him to play it. Like this, they're trying to make him seem like this kooky type of guy, but he to me was so kooky to the point where I don't fucking believe this guy. Like I know that's
Yeah.
what they're going for, but there was never a moment for a return. I'm like, oh, I
And
get what
even
he's saying.
because he had like the metal, like the robot legs,
Mhm.
I don't think you ever got like a full shot of him.
No.
So it just it didn't really look natural either. Like you would just see like
Yeah,
his
you never
upper
got
half.
either upper half or his feet.
You would see his feet, or you would see his like upper half, and just
Yeah.
like
or his
kind of
robot
chilling
arm
awkwardly.
used the
And like it felt like he was kind of like you could really feel that he was on set because like he would never move like his lower half because he didn't have
Mhm.
like a costume for that or whatever it is, right?
But yeah, I thought some of his lines are kind of eye rolling and whatnot.
Yeah.
Taylor, we've thrown a lot of negatives. Do you have anything you want to defend?
I want to
here?
hear like what do you think about these characters?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are,
Like,
even what are your
sad
negatives?
fucking
Yeah,
amount.
oh, just quickly, like all those other people, like the rebellion people, like the woman in the white dress,
Mon Mothma.
whatever. They were all boring. I didn't like any of them. But-
Wow.
I
I
don't
like
have any
Bail
negatives.
Organa. Jimmy Smits is the fucking man.
I got no negatives.
No, how do you respond? How would you respond to any of those negatives? Like,
How would I respond?
yeah, like what with our
Like, what was it about those
criticisms-
characters that you like were attached to? Because you apparently you said to Travis this is your favorite Star Wars movie of all time.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and that's
How like
I don't understand.
you must feel some great connection to these
Yeah,
characters,
and that's what
I'm
I want to
curious.
hear. Yeah.
Is it because of Clone Wars?
No.
Is it because of the last 5 minutes of the movie?
No.
I think so.
No. The characters themselves, like, yeah, they all die, so most people can think, like, oh, why am I going to get to know these characters? They're all dead. For me, I liked where they all came from, even though we didn't get a huge introduction. We didn't need to know all their backstories. Didn't matter. The two Force Guardians, I'm going to call them, I like how they didn't abandon everything they had, but to be honest, they didn't really have much going for them in the first place. And I think
One's name was Boz, and the other one was Chirrut.
Baz.
Chirrut?
Baz and
Baz.
Chirrut.
Okay.
It's
It's
CHIRRUT.
turret with a really sharp C.
Continue.
So
I just
I
want
feel like because the one guy, Chirrut,
Sure.
Chirrut, he was just
Sure.
following Baz and just kind of he was.
No,
protecting-
Boz was the one following Donnie
Oh.
Chirrut. Yeah.
Okay, so Baz was the one following
Classic.
Chirrut. Now I feel like Chirrut, he just went along with Jin because I felt like he was just going with the Force, and that's what he was doing. So that's okay. I understand that. It's cool. So I love that they're just their connection and their chit chat back and forth at each other. Their shots. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. And then the what's his name again?
K3SO. K3CSO.
K2SO.
K2SO. Okay.
K2 Sasso.
I really liked him. He the way he acted, he reminded me of like a Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory. I don't know if any of you guys picked up on that. The way he talked, it
that
just
explains a
I
lot for
don't know
me.
if that's a good
it like he was definitely like the robot equivalent to
Are
him.
you trying to say
I would
like he was on the autism spectrum? Is that what you're trying
No,
to say?
but
That's
he
what
was
Sheldon
very-
Cooper is. Like,
It was
legitimately.
very just like they both speak their mind. They just seemed very alike as characters. I mean, I like Big Bang Theory. I get a kick out of it, and so
Not
like
surprising.
with K2SO, I liked his humor. It wasn't. I found it innocent humor. He wasn't. I didn't feel pushed with him trying to make you laugh or whatever. I got a kick out of his comments and all that. And then Cassian, I thought he was interesting. I didn't know what to expect really with him. I didn't think he would have killed that guy at the beginning.
No, I didn't think that. That's
no.
It was quite surprising.
that was probably one of the highlights of.
I definitely, I knew he wouldn't kill Mads, but I still kind of, because of the beginning, like you were saying, I thought, oh, well, what if he tries to take a shot and misses or something like that? What if he attempts it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But overall, I think he was really, really cool. Jin, I really liked a lot more than I thought I would as a character in the film. I think that for her to kind of see her father and after everything that's taken place, just kind of embrace the fact that what he has worked on, he's left this little outlet for the rebellion to achieve freedom. I think that that's just fueling her energy that's just been there for a long time, that even though she hated the rebellion, she probably hated it because she hated everything to do with the Empire, the rebellion, all of it because of what happened with her parents. So now that she sees that even though everything that's happened, her father is still in this fight, not just for the rebellion, but for the greater good, that's what has her, like, her spirit going up, and she sees the rebellion as a tool to help that. And so that's why I like how she was trying to like motivate these people and get them to come together and get them to like do what they got to do. And what other characters were there? I feel like I'm missing one. The mechanic, that's the guy. He had a very, I won't lie, a very slow kind of introduction,
The
but
mechanic or the pilot?
The pilot you're talking about?
oh,
The guy with the goggles on his head?
2 for 1.
the cargo, whatever.
The
Yeah,
tech guy.
cargo.
The
guy
guy,
who-
the tech guy.
Cargo.
He got naded.
Yeah.
No.
He did.
I definitely. I can't rank them, but for him, he was definitely one of the top characters that I was actually very sad to see die.
I don't have a list of top characters. Yeah. I don't have one of those.
Han Solo.
I feel like he was someone who was so dedicated to the Empire as a character, and I feel like after having met Galen just showed him this new perspective.
Right.
And after having
What did he show him?
Okay,
We
hold
don't
on.
know what this-
I gotta stop you there. What about him made you think he was dedicated to the Empire?
because this was all like it wasn't easy for him. You could see him trying to like meet Saw Gerrera and try to handle dealing with the rebels. Like this was all just very, very
Well, that was because those
overwhelming
people
for him.
They're
were
giving him a
lying to
tough
Saw
time.
Gerrera.
To be
Yeah, they're
honest,
giving it a tough
I was
time.
kind of confused when Saguro was,
He
and
cannot
the
say
pilot.
his fucking name.
Man, because I thought like Saguro or
Just call him Saw.
Just
That's
call
his name.
just call him some guy.
some guy. So the Saw guy at the I was just really confused what was going on of why I thought that was just more Empire or some sort of.
You didn't know
Another
he
bad
was
guy.
like some good guy faction of the rebellion.
I had no idea. So I found it really confusing at the beginning.
Just a crawl.
Opening
They should have put a crawl in there at the
Hashtag
20-minute
crawl.
mark.
Yeah.
In the middle of the movie, just like every time they introduce a new character.
Right? Because I thought, okay, why is this pilot here? I was really confused why that pilot was there, and if that pilot was actually good, or why is he bad, and why is he actually giving him all these things? Like, other than, because this guy told him to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all I needed. I just needed
Yeah.
the reason.
And that's my same thing. I still don't know why he moved, other than Galen telling him like, "Oh, get it." Like, I don't fully know why the tech guy wanted to switch sides. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
Galen
feel like
did
I would-
say why, or he did say why he switched sides, because he explained why he switched sides because Galen told him something. Galen
But
convinced
what
him.
was the
I
something?
can't remember
They'd be
exactly.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a blowjob
Yeah.
if you do this for me." Like,
they never
that
said
could be
why,
anything.
what exactly he told him. He just said Galen showed me like the light.
Something
Something along those lines. Something
But it
very
wasn't
No, I
like-
vague,
totally agree with you, Taylor.
vague
Like,
in general.
like, I would have liked him a lot more. That's the thing. I just missed that
Yeah.
really intro. It's like, okay, why should I be rooting for this guy?
No, that makes sense.
And that's why I'm not like begging on these characters at all. Like I want to like them more.
You wanted more, I think.
I wanted more from this movie than what it actually gave me.
I think at least us four kind of sound similar, that we don't like. We dislike certain characters, but it's not like a character that there's not characters we couldn't like really stand. It's just like they could have been better or they could have been more. I think we're kind of all on the same wavelengths there.
We're not
like
saying
the characters are not nearly as trash as Suicide Squad.
yeah, like there's not a Enchantress in here or like.
But if they built them up, built them up so high, then
it would mean so much more when they died, and I can maybe fucking cry at the end of the movie like I did when Han did. Or like I did when Obi-Wan did, when he's in the movie for half an hour. And guess what? When Obi-Wan dies, oh my god, Obi-Wan's died. Guess what? They killed 6 people in this movie. I didn't give a flying fuck about any of them.
Yeah,
don't care. You know who I cared about? Was Mads. And that's probably just because it's Mads.
Yeah, it's understandable, but I mean, there are characters that aren't returning in a film. Obi-Wan returns in the other films. He's a
barely.
He's still a major
He's
character.
fucking ghost who has 2 minutes.
He's still a major character, even in
no,
Return of the Jedi.
I would not call him a major character. I'd call it a cameo.
Is.
He's not a major character.
He does.
And that doesn't change the fact that he's dead. If Jyn Erso came up in The Force Awakens and be like, Ray, I'm here to tell you something, be like, I don't give a fuck what you're here to tell. I don't care about you. But that's why, because I cared about Obi-Wan, so it was good to see him come back. I care about Luke, so it's good to see him come back. Yeah, there's more films, but that's I compare it to just A New Hope. Though that's one movie, and once again, maybe it's just because there's lesser characters, but even then, there's R2, there's C-3PO, there's Luke, there's Han, there's Leia, there's Chewie, and there's Obi-Wan. That's 7 characters. After that movie, I was a kid, so it's different, but when I watched that, I care about them all. And I know people that are older that see them for the first time care about them all. I don't care about many of these people. I don't think many people will. I don't think people are going to be running around with Cassian or Jyn or so posters.
We had to look up all of their names.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like, the fact that immediately after the film, we can't remember 80% of the cast names, like, those weren't memorable characters.
Yeah.
They were just placeholders, it felt like.
Yeah.
But these aren't characters that are going to make a comeback appearance in another film.
Doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. That's what a film does.
That's even more of a reason to build them up in this film.
In Pulp Fiction, none of those characters come back. I care about every single character in Pulp Fiction, other than like the guy Zed. Like, I care about them all. That's one film. Vince Vega's not coming back. Marcellus Wallace isn't coming back, but I care about them. I don't care about any of these people. The people I cared about were Vader. We're maybe seeing a Leia
Legolas.
Tarkin, Leia, thank you. A Tarkin cameo. All the people that had shining moments in this movie were people that we already like. So it's like, well, it's great we got to see Vader, but once again, that scene even felt like, oh, this movie kind of has a meh ending because like they get the plans. What should we do? Let's have Vader fucking kill everybody. Yeah, let's do that. It's great.
Yeah, it was a great ending.
Yeah, it's a great ending. We left being fulfilled, but like then when you really think about it, you're like, like we had to look up 8% of the cast. How many times we've looked up the robot's name fucking 5 times. 5
and the thing is, like, if it was just us four, if you remembered all of it, being like raving so much about this film, it's like okay. But like even you're having to look up the names, and you love the film, so like.
We're not trying to shit on you.
No, we're not.
Exactly.
We're saying how did you feel about Tarkin's use? Because obviously, big character back. Brought him back because Spear Cushion is dead. If you don't know, he's the guy that was kind of at odds with Krennic. He had the beige one. Yeah. Could you tell his face was CGI? Like he had kind of gray beige uniform. Yeah. What?
I didn't know it was CGI. So
yeah,
props to them.
Yeah, and that's he looked great. Like for CGI, obviously they probably used a real
that guy looks
actor.
familiar. I don't know.
He's
the real actor.
Yeah. So well, how do you feel about Tarkin? And you guys can say that after too. But how do you feel about that?
I think like I expected him to be in it.
Yeah.
At least like even if it was a small scene, he would be in it. I knew he would be in some form or another because he's attached to the Death Star in a large way. I think the CGI, I noticed it right away, but it didn't stand out in a bad way. Even if it did stand out in a bad way, I would have overlooked that easily because he's such a main character and they're going for that originality to get someone very important to the Death Star in their film. So I think they did a great job with him. The voice, I was trying to focus on it and kind of pick up on it, but I couldn't really...
It just sounded the same thing again. It sounded too light again. For some reason, both Vader and his voice sound too light. Like needed a bit more bass. But I was surprised how much he was in it, and his scenes were some of my favorite scenes. Actually, to be honest,
I thought he did a good job.
And the CGI for me, I'm the opposite. If the CGI was bad, I would have said take it out because then that would just ruin all these things for me. That's why, like for me, I'm not a big fan of Snoke because he's just a big CGI cat face guy, so it's like, okay, like it takes me out every time I see him. But this it didn't, and whoever did an actor, like they did a good job of playing his mannerisms, and like obviously the guy still had to act, and I liked the scenes because apparently in the books, like the real books, like they have a big clashing him and Krennic between this, so I liked that dynamic of that. I wish I got to see more, but Krennic's dead, so we won't get to see more. So I wish I got to see more. The Empire stuff is probably the stuff I like the most. Seeing Vader, seeing Krennic, seeing Tarkin again. So yeah.
I'd say big props to them because I did not know he was CGI. So I think very well done on their part.
You didn't know either?
No.
Oh yeah. No, he died shortly after Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was it was a big thing. He didn't think it was gonna be anything big. He wore slippers on the set when he was still filming his scenes. yeah, he didn't really care about the movie. Tyler, what did you feel about Tarkin being back?
I was pretty happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always good to see bad guys make a comeback and just get more backstory on the bad guys. So I thought just like the way he played the character was really well done. You got that like regal sort of vibe from him, and how like he just like was so much better than all the other people there.
Even I like when he's just like, "Oh, good, I'll tell the Emperor it's a success due to my part,"
and
he's
that
like,
I'm taking over the project.
Yeah, and he's like, "I did all the work. Like this is my success," and he's like, "Well, not anymore." And he just does it so casually.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Just
and just like that's exactly who Grand Moff Tarkin is, and like it was really good to see that. Like that's like exactly the scene I'm thinking of, like where he has just that regal authority.
Yeah,
and he doesn't give a shit about another bad guy. I can't remember his name. Krennic. That's the one. Yeah, so I thought that was really well done, and I did notice that his face seemed a little off, but I wouldn't be able to like say with certainty just watching the film that was CGI. So I thought they did like a phenomenal job with it.
Well, it's crazy how
really well done.
We're getting to look at like soon they're gonna bring anybody back. You know, it's crazy. Like when I saw that, I was like, that's the first like I think CGI person that's really blown me away. Like not like a Mina person, not like a Gollum or something. Like so that's because anytime even like in Civil War when they did that thing and made Robert Downey look a bit younger, you can tell like okay they've touched it up.
It looked weird.
Yeah, it looked weird. But with this, you're like, man, like 3 more years, they got it down. Like they're just gonna bring Heath Ledger back. They're gonna bring Chris Farley back.
I was just thinking Chris Farley.
Yeah, they're bringing John Candy. Like, look out, we're having a reunion tour. We're gonna get that real Dark Knight. Do you guys have anything to say on Tarkin or?
No.
I'll move on to my final point. We haven't talked about him. Very middle school rule, but I'm saying the best for last. Mads, happy he was in here.
Boy.
He did great. He wasn't in it much. He didn't have much to say. He said Stardust a lot, but he was great. I felt his death scene was actually really good the way he did it. I think he's just a high caliber actor who can add anything. Saying that, I wish that he wasn't in this role and they would have used him in the Saga films or something where he'd continue. Because I was happy to see him. He added to it, but the fact that it's so small and he dies right away, for me, it just feels like a little of a waste because he's just such a talented guy. So I thought it was good, but bittersweet for me at the same time. So #Savannah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's enough actors out there that you don't need Mads to be in like every series. There's other people.
And to
out
be
there.
honest,
you
he
do.
is in Doctor Strange.
So they're not crossing over. It doesn't matter.
No?
Just because it's Disney doesn't mean it can't be in other Disney things.
I guess so.
The Disney version.
Yeah, I mean, same thing.
Disneyverse, man.
He's a phenomenal actor, and he delivered his lines really well. He was kind of a boring character, just because of like the lines that were given to him, and just like, okay.
My Stardust.
I mean, I would have been fine if there was more of him, but I mean, even his scenes, like, they didn't really captivate me a whole lot, just because it wasn't necessarily him. I don't think. I think it was just what they gave him, or the other people around him, and who he was interacting with. Like, I don't know. I guess I didn't really feel that connection between him and the Kraken. I was kind of
Kraken.
Yeah, and I
Release
guess
the Kraken.
if they have some like storied history, it would have been cool to see that more. I guess rather than him just trying to arrest, rather than Kraken just trying to arrest him. I guess right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I would have hoped for more, but I mean, to be honest, his role like didn't really make the film like that much better. Really, like that because that first half was pretty boring. I did not like the first half really. So.
I found with Mads, like normally I feel like he, as like an actor, like he excels in roles where he like exudes confidence and like he's in a very strong position, I guess. And it was weird seeing him in like more of a good guy and in like a weaker defensive position, which was really it didn't feel right for his acting capabilities and like the way he plays a character. It just seeing him as like that kind of on the defensive and like on the run and kind of like trying to like just get away from the Empire, and the way like him and the Kraken confronted each other at the start, it just didn't seem like Mads. And I feel like he could have. I think if there was more of him being this super intelligent weapons engineer as and like an Imperial officer, more of him playing that like super intelligent, confident bad guy, I guess. I would have much more enjoyed seeing him more as that than like the weaker side of his character. So I think I don't think he did a bad job, but I don't think he had the best to work with, and I don't think he got the right role.
Mm-hmm. Taylor, can I have anything to add over this?
No.
No.
I'm just gonna agree with you guys. Really, he just hit it all. So
yeah,
I really liked him. Like, I love Mads.
Oh,
Save the
that's why he gets. If you're a new fan for the first time, you gotta go back and listen to some old cats. He's all since day one.
Yeah.
Taylor, you have anything to add? Or?
I think he did a great job. I think I know you said you wanted to see him in a different role in the saga films. I think for a role for him, that's the most iconic role possible in the films, because he's the one who created the.
Not if he plays like Obi-Wan's kid.
Still above that, he's the one who created the flaw in the Death Star.
There we go. Yeah, they don't even say he's a character. It's just like your father's Matt Mikkelsen, and she's like, what? That's why she's so powerful.
Oh, this makes sense.
It all makes sense now.
I think to be listed as the character who created that flaw in the Death Star is huge, because every time in the books, every Star Wars storyline, it revolves around 4 ABY, 4 years after the Battle of Yavin, 4 years after the Death Star is blown up. The timeline starts when that Death Star is blown up. Before and after, he was the huge, intricate part of that destruction. That is a huge piece of the Star Wars timeline.
I'll say that he was the reason there was the problem with the first Death Star, and the second Death Star was the one that.
Yeah, but the first Death Star is what.
That'll probably be Rogue 2. We'll get the mini what is it? The Batharinian spies.
Many Bothans
died. So great, we'll get that one. Does anyone have anything else to shout out? I got one question, and then we'll go into our rating. But anything else to shout out randomly?
The 2 stormtroopers.
Yes, great lines. Yeah, when they're like, "Did you hear about
on the radio?"
Yeah, they like, "Did you hear about the Model 21K?" He's like, "Yeah, that has been working for a while. Like, I'm so glad they finally recalled it." Or whatever. That was really good. That was really fun. Like, it made, because that was my problem too. Some of the stormtroopers seemed a little too badass, and this is the era where they're not badass. So I like that they were kind of these just scummy guys, and then suddenly just oh, these guns, they're just idiots. And I like the badass stormtroopers maybe now, Force Awakens era, because they're different. But then I kind of like some dopey, kind of clueless stormtroopers, and they seemed like that. And that was the biggest laugh I got the whole time.
That was so good.
That was good.
Stormtrooper 1 and 2, shoutouts to you.
Mm-hmm. I feel like when they were looking at the plans, trying to find Stardust or whatever, the Death Star plans, I don't know. There's no books obviously probably for it, but I feel like they just tackled a huge part of the Imperial history by saying oh, there's Project Black Saber, and they're listing all these very secret projects and
movies.
I'm okay with that not being movies. I'd much rather books, because they go.
I want the
detail.
Black Saber movie.
I
dying to see a black lightsaber ever since Force Unleashed. I want that. That's a bad boy.
It just had me thinking what is, because they listed a lot of these secret projects. I'm thinking, what are these? Because these are in the same the same vault as the Death Star. So obviously these are large scale things.
Clients of Shmi.
Black Saber.
The last thing I guess I'll say before my question, we didn't talk about, how did everyone feel about the score?
Hated it.
I didn't notice it at all, except for one. I think there was one part where they played
the Darth Vader theme.
Yeah,
I don't even know if I noticed that.
They did. Dylan's right. They did. Yeah.
There's one classic, just Star Wars part, Star Wars score.
I will say that it was slightly more memorable than Fantastic Beasts soundtrack.
Yes.
Relative to its original series.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But it wasn't anything outstanding.
Well, my biggest problem too is the first time I get to see a Star Destroyer and the Death Star, they don't even play the Empire's theme.
Yeah.
The bad guys have a theme. They didn't even play that. It was just it kind of felt I'm sorry because Michael Giacchino is great, but it felt kind of just generic video game Star Wars music, which is fine for a video game or Clone Wars because they don't have the budget. But this is and the thing was he only had 3 weeks to work on it because the original guy dropped out.
Oh, really?
So that's why he had 3 weeks. So that's why I cut him slack. But from what was there, this was the thing where Force Awakens for me was like, oh, it had its like the old school hits and then a few new ones I like, but overall I just thought it was like good. Where this one I just thought was just like passable, like nothing amazing. Like I thought there's a lot of missed opportunities. Like I said, with that, with certain like the new scores, I don't want to hear any of them again. You know, like they played Vader's one, but that was like the only like classic one I really picked up on. Mm-hmm. The Empire bad guys one really bugged me because anytime you see that Death Star, that music is accompanying it, and it's so powerful, and you're like, you know, these are the bad guys. Yeah. But this was like, no, it's just like some like new Star Wars music. I was like, not. Yeah, I was not a fan. Not a fan.
I agree with you. I think when we were the first title when Rogue One came up. Travis and I looked at each other because the score was just
it didn't fit
at all. Because what they did, they really tinkled with the way the notes were working and changed it up completely. And it just felt like it didn't. Yeah, it was the Star Wars. You can hear the Star Wars theme kind of behind it, but it was definitely had its own little flair, and the flair didn't really work with what was going on. Yeah. And I think that's what I had such a hard time with, and that. If that's what you said, 3 weeks to do a score, I completely understand why it's like that. Because a lot of it would have made a lot of the characters or a lot of the moments a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you had a little bit stronger of a horn section coming in. Like when you do see the Empire come in, you're like, oh shit. Like
and then he's a great composer. He's done Up. He did Doctor Strange actually. So he's a really great thing. So I'm just hoping Zach Taylor, because you love the movie. Did you love the score as well? Of course.
Yeah. Like I definitely, I like the score because I love it when they take the classical notes from the originals and then they give it like a little bit of a newer twist.
I feel like they didn't really do that.
They didn't do it a lot. I will agree with you on that. But the odd times they did it, I'm very happy with that.
They did it a lot.
They did it. My last question, now going over our rating. So we talked a lot about this leading up to the movie, about it's first time a prequel and we know the ending, so how's it gonna go? Does this, Taylor, we know your answer, but how are you guys feeling in 2 years from now when we get the Han Solo one? A similar one where we're going to have a character, is not going to die, we pretty much know where he's going to end up, he's going to get the Falcon. I could see it set up very similar, like we know what's going to happen. Does this, for the future of Star Wars prequels, how do you feel? Like, do you feel that we need more of these? Because I'll start, like, I'm kind of now on the fence. I'm kind of like, if it's not Knights of the Old Republic or something 1,000 years ahead, I don't know if I necessarily need it. I'll see it always and hope that they're great. Maybe the Han Solo won't be great in 2 years and I'll change my tune. But this one for me is the first prequel. Kind of like what we talked about with Fantastic Beasts, the first new one in the series. It was like to me, started with like just a little, like, I don't know, when you play Mario Kart and you get like that boost, it's kind of like just a little boost, you know, like, but not anything like, not enough to win the race.
You only got one mushroom.
Yeah. Where like I was expecting to get the one where you get the 3, right? Like, oh, Rogue One, but this was like, where it was like Vader was the one mushroom, and now I'm like, I wasn't already looking forward to Han Solo, and now I'm less looking excited for it. So how do you guys feel about that?
I'm not, like, I'm still optimistic about it. Like, I think I'm so happy they're doing them, and I think because it's just like a Han Solo movie, and they don't have to do as much, and they can focus more on the one character. Maybe I imagine they'll have 2 or 3
Lando's in there.
Yeah, they'll have Han Solo and then like 2 or 3 other like main characters they focus on, even if they're sort of side characters. But I think they have a lot more they can work with.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one they had like defined end goals that
get the plans
had to happen, and it was just kind of, and they had too many characters they had to develop or not develop, and then they had too many characters and a set end goal that they had to end all the characters at some point with. Like if they left some characters with open arcs, it wouldn't be as bad, but the fact that they had to end every single character's arc and with such a small amount of time, I feel like with a Han Solo one, like, because they can leave it open because it's not like immediately going into what we know has already happened.
Yeah,
they could leave his arc open and still like do well. So I think they have a lot more opportunity to do better, which I think they can do.
Yeah, I think considering they just have they have more possibilities with storyline, and they're gonna bring characters. Yeah, they're not the same actors, but characters that we already know about, and we don't have to spend as much time with just getting to know what their personality is like. I think it has more potential than this one. but I don't really know how I'm feeling because I was thinking going into this like earlier today. I was like, with the tone of the trailers and stuff, like this could be my favorite Star Wars movie because I'm not nearly as into it as you guys are. And I was like, this could take the cake, but then it kind of fell flat.
Drop the cake.
It definitely dropped the cake, and it didn't drop it like face up, like it's face down in the ground. You're not eating that. Smeared, yeah.
Then a grenade.
And then a grenade, yeah. Poor captain. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the Han Solo movie has more potential than this one, but that's only in the hindsight of me having seen this one, right? And that like I don't think I would have said that earlier today necessarily. So, hard to say.
Kyle, one on a positive note with Taylor.
I'm actually not excited for the new Han Solo. After watching that, I feel like I don't need more prequels. I kind of just want something new.
Yeah.
Or if you are going to do something different, but I think that's why I really was pumped for Rogue One, because I would have seen more of like the rebellion or the more Empire side, and I wanted, I guess, more of that character development, and that's what it was really missing for me, and that's why I didn't like it as much. And for the Han Solo side of things, well, we've already seen him in four other movies.
Yeah.
Right. I don't need to see him. Well, as much as I love Han Solo, I don't need to see him again. Right?
It's not Harrison Ford either, right? So
yeah, which is a big
not
wild
quite
card
as
too.
not quite as powerful.
Yeah, so if you are going to do something different, or these prequels, or you do, what Travis said, like do Knights of the Republic or something that's kind of a little bit different, that makes you see a different side of everything that you already know.
Yeah, like a movie 1,000 Years about the planet Jedi. Like, how did that form? Like, why did the Jedi choose this planet? And like what? Like, how did it go? Or like people throwing out like the story about it's called Rule of Two, and it's about Darth Vader and how he decides that there's only going to be 2 Sith from now on, and he kills the other ones. Like something like that, where it's like something that with the Death Star plans, it's like that was the plot, but it's kind of like I felt like we all watched this like, yeah, this kind of matches up to what we think. Where it's like, okay, the Rule of Two. Also, we know it's going to end with him being like, okay, there's going to be 2, but like, how does that Sith get to that decision? And what does he do to take out all these fucking other Sith? And what do the other Sith do to respond? Where this was just so like laid out of like they're gonna get the plans, they're gonna die, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do this, like, or at least it felt like it was laid out, and then the movie was laid out that way too. Yeah.
So I don't know. I went into Rogue One with something, thinking the movie was gonna be something else than it came out to be. So kind of disappointed. But Taylor, end us on that high note.
Well, like, I'm not a huge fan of Han Solo. I think he's a great character, but he's not one of my top favorites.
Oh, what the fuck?
What?
I just died a little bit. Say that about Han Solo.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love him.
Wow.
But he's definitely...
I'll cover you. Vader sucks.
Wow.
He's
I
not-
can justify that. Han, though. He's the heart and soul of this fucking franchise.
I love him in the movies, don't get me wrong, but I don't love him enough to see him get his own film.
Yeah.
The
way I feel about Boba Fett.
I'm with you guys on the sense that I would want to see a film about a different character in a different time, not about Han Solo, who's already been in a bunch of the movies. If it was a film, again, if he had like a cameo or something, sure, why not? But even then, I don't want that. I want another spin-off.
Yeah, like we
that's
didn't
different.
talk about, but like I was fine with the Leia cameo. They worked in good, shit up good, like stuff like that's fine. But like I don't need a 2020 Leia movie, I'll be like,
God, no.
Oh,
There's
woof.
just an hour and a half of politics.
So the prequels, no.
But overall, this movie, if anything, it has me. Like, as I said, I'm not like a huge fan of the idea of a Han Solo movie, but this movie, Rogue One, has me amped to actually sit down and watch it.
Okay.
So.
Let's go on Reigns. I'm going to start first because we'll go this way. Taylor's going to be the highest. I'm giving it a solid 7. It's not going to go any higher. It's not going to go any lower. That's the thing. There's stuff about this movie I said. I can't say there's bad acting. I can't say there's bad this. The 3 points are for, like, the predictability. There is some bad, like, not bad, but just, like, underdeveloped writing, in my opinion. It's not bad. Lots of comedy didn't work for me. Characters didn't work for me, but the action was great. There's a couple great scenes in here. There's a couple great dialogue scenes. I'm not, I don't know. Yeah, I had a good enough time watching this. This is like, other than prequels, my lowest. I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie again. And that sounds bad for like a movie that's a 7, but I don't know. I had a good time, but I didn't really enjoy myself. I wasn't locked in. I wasn't man, this is Star Wars. I'm having a thrill ride. To me, this was like this is Star Wars going through the motions. So 7 for me. I think it's that. If anything, I dropped to a 6.5, but I don't think I'll get to watch the movie to know if it would drop. So I think a 7. The Vader scene is worth a 0.5, so that's why it's not 6.5. So, Kyle, what's your overall score at a?
I'm gonna give it a 7 as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I like the movie, but for me there's lots of things that could have been better, and that could have made the movie a lot more interesting, and maybe even a bit more dynamic. But that's something that takes time, right? When you got to develop that, but all of a sudden you start pumping out all these Star Wars films. I hope that doesn't affect the future films that are coming along from now on.
Yeah. Well, I think you said, like, Simba, I'm the same thing. Like, I like the movie.
Oh, yeah, I like the
It's just,
movie.
like, it's not a good sign for the future for me. I'm not, like, walking away like Taylor is like, oh, that really helped me out. That was more of, like, prequels again. You know, Dylan?
I think I'll drop it a quick 6.
Mm.
Because, like, I was bored out of my mind to the point of falling asleep in the first half, and I have to take that into account.
Yeah.
The second half is, I would probably have given that, like, if that was the only part of the movie, I probably would have given it, like, 7, maybe even an 8. But, I mean, I have to take into account the first half. I just was so uninterested. Just, like, the characters, even in the second half, too, but were just so lackluster, I think is the word that's perfect to describe it. And yeah, there was some good scenes, but there was also just a lot of garbage with a lowercase bolded G.
And before Tyler goes, Jessica couldn't make it, but she said she gave it a 7 as well. So it's
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tyler, what did you feel?
I'm gonna give it like a 7.2,
Mm-hmm.
just because.
You gotta one up these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
I
point
mean,
2 up.
I still enjoyed the film as much as like we all enjoyed it. I feel, but
Mhm.
like as much as we've been bashing it, but like because for me it's like the good parts were like just the Star Wars novelty. It's always like I always enjoy seeing more Star Wars things and more and new things too. And like as I said
And
earlier,
going back to that
the
world.
cinematography was good. I think if there were a couple shots that I think they missed out on, which they could have done more of. The one I'm thinking of right now is just when they crashed the 2 Star Destroyers into each other and had them crash into the shield.
Mhm.
I feel like we could have, if they showed more of that and showed more of them going to the shield and actually destroying the shield, where it just showed it hitting the shield and then it didn't show anymore. I think that would have been cool to see. But just there are some shots that they could have done more with, and like those were like my 2 biggest things. And like a lot of it felt like I was like, you know when you those Star Wars encyclopedias where there's like all this information and that's it, there's no like emotional storyline or anything. That's what I felt like it was just like an encyclopedia, not like
that's a
an
good
emotional
comparison.
story driven film.
Yeah.
And so
Homework for A New Hope, if you want.
yeah, exactly, like it's just something it's something you watch for the sake of
It's the
watching
crawl
it.
for a new home.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But it's not like I felt any connection to anything, so like it's not a movie I feel like I need to see again.
Yeah.
Anytime soon at least.
Yeah.
Like maybe when like after these 3 films and then 10 years from now when they make 10, 11, 12, maybe I'd watch it again. But yeah. So
Taylor, I have to ask, is this honestly your favorite Star Wars movie? So over Empire. How? I don't understand. It has Boba Fett, your favorite. It has the Vader and Luke great fight scene. It has I Am Your Father. It has the Hoth battle scene. I don't understand, but tell me why. Yeah, tell me why it's better than Empire.
I liked Empire because of the Empire in it. You got to see that whole... You finally got to see what they were capable of without the Death Star even. They were powerful, they had control, everything. In this film, I felt like, even though they were struggling at points, I felt like they dominated throughout the whole film. They were the Empire, and they... Like, that when they're on the beach on Scarif and things are blowing up, like, they're so in control of everything that they were stunned that this even happened. And for me, I got a kick out of it. I thought, like, that would happen. They'd be surprised.
See it that way.
I didn't see it that way
No,
either,
I
man.
saw them getting their ass kicked the whole time. There's literally like 50 guys versus a whole island, and they won and they lost.
Well, they didn't still lose. I mean, the rebels.
No, they lose
the
in the
rebels
end. That Death Star
clearly
gets
lost.
but they still take down that island with them, and in the end of the day, that Death Star gets blown up. They lost this 50 guy team.
They lost that entire island with every information about the Empire.
They lost.
I think they have some backups. They use cloud storage. They're good to go.
I don't know, like, it wasn't just, like, an easy 1, 2, 3, like, at least they showed struggle through that, especially because, like, and again, that scene with Darth Vader and them, like, I was wondering, okay, when are they going to transfer from the Mon Calamarian ship to Leia here? I was trying to figure out when they're going to do that, and when I saw them uploading onto the chip, and you can see them running, you could see that struggle, and then when Darth Vader came in, like, it was so close to the point where you want Darth Vader to get those plans, because you think he could force pull the plans into his hand, but it was so close, and they just narrowly escape. So, I mean, it had that whole struggle up to the, like, all the way to that point, starting from as soon as the rebels arrived there with their fleet. They had to try and break that shield down, and they had to get the relay set up and everything. And they were trying to converse on the ground. The soldiers didn't know what the master key switch was. They were trying to figure that out. So there was dynamics and there were problems arising. So it wasn't just an easy walk in the park. Even when the AT-ATs came up, I felt bad.
Even feed them.
I felt bad for these soldiers because you see tons of them. Tons of the rebels were getting blown up, and they were running and trying their best to hide and everything from these things. And I felt like this is a really cool actual action sequence here with these walkers.
See, my problem with how can you consider this your favorite movie if you just totally disregarded the first half of the movie as well? Like, how can you forget about half of the movie?
Like, I think you're being really reactionary for
movie?
that ending, and you're just like, I can see when you said it was tied with Empire, but Empire is like this thing where it's like, you've been talking about for years how good it is, blah, blah, and there's all these moments, like, I don't, like, what are the moments in this movie taking the Vader moment out?
Taking the Vader moment out? I liked the first part of the movie because I felt like I was in the Star Wars universe there. Without the Empire and without the full-on rebels, I felt like I was in this environment with the different, like with the aliens and stuff. Like when she was in the jail cell and stuff, and you see the alien and all these different things, and you get to see these different planets. I felt like I was more so in a Star Wars cantina kind of scenario environment than I did with the other movies, focusing just on the Rebels, Empire, and Skywalker. I felt more of that attachment in this with like some of the droids, all that kind of stuff. And I liked it even more so because then at the times when you did see that Imperial dominance, it made it feel more, that's what I want to see, that's what I want to, that's what I expect, because this galaxy is under control. So that's why I like those scenes even more when you see the TIE fighters flying over, or that scene when you're in the community, in the environment of like the indigenous species or whatever, and then you look up and you see that Star Destroyer just hovering there for control. I love that scene even more so. Yeah.
All right. So I imagine that's a 10 out of 10 then, if it's...
I'm going to give it a solid 10 out of 10. One more thing I will add. I love Darth Vader's base, where he was. I was trying to figure, okay, what is this?
You mean the Tower of Sauron?
Sure.
Mustafar.
I saw it and I was like, this is Lord of the Rings.
I thought it was really, really cool, and then I was trying to figure out, like, who's in the tank, I was trying to figure out who was in the tank or whatever, and then, like, when it was Darth Vader, I looked at my girlfriend, like, holy shit!
And, like, what about this fucking old guy?
I didn't even care. Just when Darth Vader came up,
I don't know who this
like, it's okay. I just picture, because even the Emperor has old guys like that in the Return of the Jedi. He does.
Creepy old guys everywhere.
They're like his advisors, or they're
on.
like watchers or whatever. You see them in Return of the Jedi. He has them. And so, why not the Emperor loan Darth Vader a couple of these guys? I don't know.
Complex.
Maybe they're Force-sensitive cultists.
So, you gave Suicide Squad 10 out of 10.
Let me explain. I don't, those movies side by side, I don't be like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10, that's a 10 out of 10. I base each movie individually.
I still don't understand the rating system at all. And you continue to surprise me with, like...
So, you give it a 7.
Man, I couldn't even finish Suicide Squad.
Well, anything else we gotta say about Star Wars: A Rogue One story?
I think it was good. It was a good movie. It just could have... We all wished it could have been better.
Except for Taylor.
Except for
Yeah.
Taylor.
I'm going to be seeing it again in the theaters.
Oh, we know.
I definitely will be.
Well,
I can't remember if I've ever fallen asleep in a
Some
movie
more
before. It was
lightsabers.
the first time. Yikes.
there was one lightsaber.
I didn't know that actually happened to people.
I didn't either. Like, in a theater, it's so loud and there's just so much going on. Like, yikes.
Let us know what you think. Hey, if you're on
Yeah.
Taylor's side, let us know if you think all four of us are dead wrong, you love the characters, and you think it's your favorite Star Wars
Tell me
movie of
what
all time.
part you fell asleep at.
Yeah, or that. If you didn't like it like us, let us know. Let us know in the comments. You can subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, all like that, so you can get our episodes and you can comment and whatnot. Taylor, where can they find us on social media?
Well, they can find us with that awesome internet connection. Go onto your Google, whatever, search bar, type in Facebook, sign into it, and then type in Geek vs. Space Podcast. There's so much awesome shit on there.
Wow.
You'll love it.
Awesome shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Our website,
We get
Facebook,
t-shirts,
Twitter,
yeah?
the whole shebang. You can go buy some t-shirts. I had a couple of fans ask us about those, so that's good. You got your Hunka Hunka shirt. I'll be wearing that very soon. I'm very excited. I got the delivery for it, so yeah, I'm a mark. I bought my own shirt, but I need a Hunka Hunka shirt. If you want to see something very similar to this, I imagine next week when we review Assassin's Creed, it could be a very similar
I'm
situation.
so scared now. I'm terrified. Like,
Why?
to-
Because
like,
you thought we
literally.
wouldn't be this harsh on Star Wars?
Yeah, and now I'm scared. I don't want to do the review anymore.
Well, that's next week. As you can see, he's a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Check out his last episode of Geese Creed. That's next week's episode. We're doing a spoiler review on a Wednesday. So subscribe. We'll be
It'll
there.
be Wednesday afternoon. We're going to the matinee.
No, we
He
gotta wait
won't.
for this guy. So
He didn't take off work to go to that.
yeah, what a fan. He's
His
what a-
favorite thing of all time.
yeah, doesn't take it off. But yeah, next week Assassin's Creed spoiler review. Thank you for tuning in. Promise you next week we'll definitely. not
We'll
be
keep you
boring.
waiting.
Yeah,
Well,
not
definitely not
boring
boring,
at all.
In Transformers, I fell asleep.
Nice.